The 7 deadly business sins of contractors. Not dramatic explosions, not once in a lifetime mistakes, ordinary habits that feel safe, maybe even smart in that moment. Most failing trade businesses don't implode overnight. They don't explode in some dramatic disaster. They don't go down because of one big job gone wrong or one bad season or even one tough competitor. No, most failing businesses bleed out slowly, quietly. It's death by a thousand small cuts. Boring, overlooked mistakes that seem harmless in the moment, but eat away at the foundation until the whole thing crumbles. And here's the scary part. These mistakes are so common, so ordinary, that most owners convince themselves they're normal. Let me give you an example. I once sat down with a contractor who was proud of his numbers. He had the spreadsheets, he had the reports, on paper, everything looked solid, steady sales, plenty of deposits in the bank, and crews running from one job to the next. But when we dug a little deeper, the truth hit hard. Those deposits weren't profits, they were liabilities. He was spending tomorrow's money to cover today's bills. And within months of us meeting, the illusion of success collapsed. Vendors stopped extending credit, jobs stalled, and his reputation in the community fell apart. The lesson is simple but brutal. What looks like growth can actually be a ticking time bomb if you ignore the fundamentals. And that's why we need to talk about what I call the 7 deadly business sins of contractors. They're not flashy, they don't make headlines, but they're the invisible killers of trade businesses. All right, let's break it down. We're going to walk through these 7 deadly sins that quietly sink good businesses. These aren't dramatic mistakes, they're subtle. They even feel normal, but that's what makes them dangerous. For each one, I'll give you the myth, the reality, and a story of what happens when you fall for it. Ready? Let's go. Sin number 1, skipping financial reviews. Here's the myth. I don't need to review the numbers every month. I already know how we're doing. That's a lie owners tell themselves. If you're not looking at your P&L, your balance sheet, your receivables, payables, and job costs, well, then you're flying blind. I've seen companies operate for months or even years without reviewing numbers, and things may have even felt fine until suddenly cash was gone. Vendors cut them off, and they were scrambling just to keep the lights on. And by the time they finally looked at the financials, the hole was already too deep. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. Sin number 2, counting deposits as income. The myth we tell ourselves is if money's in the bank, it must be profit. But deposits are not income, they're liabilities. And until you do the work, well, that money isn't yours. It's a promise that you've made. Now, a contractor I know was spending deposits from future jobs to pay today's bills. And on paper, it looked fine. But when those jobs came due, the money was already gone. Vendors refused delivery and crews sat idle. And customers demanded refunds. This illusion of profit turned into lawsuits and a reputation in the ruins. Deposits aren't income, they're promises. Sin number 3, believing sales fixes everything. The myth we tell ourselves is if I just sell more, everything will take care of itself. More sales don't fix weak margins or sloppy systems. They actually multiply the problems. You're not selling a product, you're selling a service that has to be performed. Now, not too long ago, I watched a company double their sales in just 2 years, and the owner bragged about their growth. But the truth, his overhead had ballooned as well. Margins had shrunk and cash had evaporated. Now, within months, the company, even though bigger, was bleeding out twice as fast as before. You see, growth without control is just a faster way to fail. Sin number 4, trusting commissions and contractors as guarantees to success. The myth is if I pay salespeople on commission and use subcontractors, well, then my costs are fixed and I can't lose. Well, that sure sounds good on paper, but commissions don't cover your overhead and subcontractors don't carry your liability. I've seen owners lulled into false confidence and then callbacks rolled in and warranty claims began to pile up and their quality of work started slipping and all those fixed costs, well, they still came out of the owner's pocket. What looked like a guarantee of profit turned into a guarantee of rework. You can outsource labor, but you can never outsource your responsibility. Sin number 5, hiring the wrong managers. The myth we tell ourselves is if I bring in the right someone with the right resume, they'll fix everything. But experience on paper doesn't mean success in the field. A polished resume can still wreck your business if the application doesn't fit your reality. A roofer we once worked with thought a corporate manager would bring professionalism to his roofing company, but that was a disaster. Endless meetings delayed crews, fancy reports clogged the office, and policies that looked great in theory were killing productivity on the job site. Within months, morale had collapsed and customers were angry. And our roofer came to realize he'd hired someone that didn't fit the trade at all. The wrong leader can sink you faster than no leader in that spot at all. Sin number 6, pride and denial. The myth we tell ourselves is, I'll figure it out, I don't need help. Optimism is powerful only when it's grounded in facts. But when optimism is built on fiction, well, that's just denial, and denial is expensive. I've worked with owners who ignored every warning sign. They avoided the hard conversations and put off looking at numbers and waited too long to ask for help. And by the time they admitted reality, payroll was missed, vendors had walked, and options were gone. Optimism built on hope is just denial. Sin number 7, letting good times hide problems. The myth we tell ourselves is if we're busy, we must be doing fine. But good times cover up bad systems. Sales volume hides mistakes. And when the economy dips, every weakness comes into the light. I've seen businesses thrive in a boom and then crumble in a slowdown. The problems were always there. The estimates were sloppy, costs were ignored, leadership was weak, but high sales covered it all up. But when growth slowed, everything unraveled. Busy isn't profitable, only profit keeps you in business. So there they are, the 7 deadly business sins of contractors. Not dramatic explosions, not once-in-a-lifetime mistakes, ordinary habits that feel safe, maybe even smart in that moment. But left unchecked, they're the invisible killers that slowly bleed businesses dry. And the questions for you are simple. Which of these sins are hiding in your business right now? And which ones are you excusing or telling yourself that they'll go away on their own? Because the truth is this. Most businesses don't collapse in one moment. They erode slowly from mistakes ignored for too long. And that's the danger of these 7 deadly sins. And that's why seeing them clearly is the first step to stopping the slow bleed. So, it's one thing to talk about sins in theory, but the real wake-up call comes from the businesses that actually live them. So let me tell you about breakthrough contracting. They're the perfect example of when busy meant broke. The owner of Breakthrough thought he was doing fine. The shop was busy, the customers kept coming, projects were rolling. But here's the reality. Busy doesn't mean profitable. This business lost money in 8 out of 11 years, from 2003 to 2014. And in total, it was nearly $170,000 lost. And why? Because the owner never looked at the numbers. He said yes to every job, and he never knew when he was making money or losing it. The warning signs were everywhere. Employees were drinking on the job, vendors were questioning payments, and the IRS even showed up with a bill for $20,000 in back taxes. But denial ran deep, and then it all collapsed. The vendors stopped delivering, employees left, and customers demanded refunds. And then the IRS came back, but this time flashing badges. This wasn't just one bad month. It was an 11-year slide into failure masked by the illusion of being busy. The moral to this story is busy is just busy. Profitable is what keeps you in business. So here's the question I want you to wrestle with. Which of these sins are hiding in your business right now? Are you chasing sales instead of profit? Are you spending deposits that aren't yours yet? Are you trusting systems, subs, or shiny resumes to protect you instead of facing the real numbers yourself? Those stories aren't just abstract warnings, they're real stories that have taken down real businesses. And if you don't confront these issues, they'll take yours down too. In the next half of this journey, we'll talk about the stakes, the cost of ignoring these sins, and what you can do to break free from them. So we've talked about the 7 deadly business sins of contractors, those small but deadly habits that bleed businesses out slowly. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay stuck. There's a framework, 5 clear steps, and they're not complicated, not abstract, just practical moves you can start making right now. Because the truth is, success in business isn't magic. It isn't luck. It isn't about finding some miracle breakthrough, and it isn't complicated. Success is structured. So let's walk through these 5 steps together. We'll start off with step number 1, hold a monthly financial review. And honestly, this is the one that makes all the others possible. Every single month, sit down and review your numbers. But don't just glance at them, don't skim them. Really review them. Review your profit and loss, your balance sheet, your receivables, payables, job costs, and sales ratios. These are your KPIs that you should know what they mean. When you look at these numbers consistently, you'll stop running your business on feelings and you start running it on facts. Now, let me give you another real life example. I worked with a contractor who hated financials. He'd always say, "I'm not a numbers guy," and so he just avoided them. Well, guess what happened? He didn't realize he was losing money on half of his jobs until his vendors started calling and employees were threatening to quit because they weren't getting paid. So we sat him down and built the habit of reviewing his numbers monthly, every single month. And suddenly the light bulb went on. He could see where the leaks were. He could see where jobs were slipping, and he could fix them before they became disasters. Here's the truth. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So think about last month. Did you review your financials line by line, or did you just assume things were fine because you were busy? Step number 2, treat deposits as liabilities, not income. Get this right, and you'll sleep better at night. When a customer gives you a deposit, that money isn't yours yet. It's a loan. It's a promise. And you haven't earned it until the work is done. Too many owners see those checks hit the bank and think, "Wow, we're profitable," and then they spend it. Deposits aren't profits. They're promises you still owe. Think about your last 3 jobs. Did you treat those deposits as liabilities or did you count them as income? Step number 3, pursue profitable growth, not just volume. One of the most dangerous lies in the trades is more sales will solve everything. But sales don't fix problems, they multiply them. If your margins are weak, if your overhead isn't covered, if your systems are shaky, well, more sales just makes the cracks bigger. This is robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's like playing musical chairs blindfolded. You go to take the chair, but nothing's there and your ass is on the ground. I know a company that doubled sales in 2 years. Wow, sounds amazing, right? But they didn't ever adjust pricing. They didn't watch overhead, and within a year, they were out of cash. They were twice as big and twice as broke. Growth without control is just a faster way to fail. Because this isn't just about survival, it's about sanity. Now, chasing volume without profit leaves owners burned out, exhausted, and one step away from collapse. If you stop chasing sales for a moment and focus only on margin, only on profit, what would change in your business? Step number 4, vet your managers carefully. Now let's talk about leadership, because one of the deadliest sins is assuming that a shiny resume equals success, but it doesn't. I know a roofer who found this out the hard way. He was worn out running the company, so he hired a corporate manager. And this guy came in with polished shoes, org charts, and corporate language. He had the works. But what happened? Productivity tanked. Crews were frustrated and customers got angry. Why? Because the systems that worked in a corporate office just didn't work on a job site. His advice wasn't wrong per se, it just didn't fit. And that's the danger. The wrong leader can sink you faster than no leader in that position at all. Think about your leadership team. Are they giving you field-ready wisdom, or are they giving you theory that maybe doesn't fit your world? Step number 5, confront reality early. This is the final step and maybe the hardest one. Pride and denial will kill you. I've seen owners who knew something was wrong, deep down they knew, but they kept telling themselves it would get better. They kept avoiding the hard conversations. They kept putting off calling for help. And by the time they had to face reality, it was too late. Here's the truth, is optimism is powerful when it's built on facts. But optimism built on fiction, well, that's just denial. So the question I have for you is, where in your business are you telling yourself a story instead of facing the facts? Okay, let's recap. 5 steps to fight the 7 deadly business sins of contractors. Number 1, review your numbers monthly. Number 2, treat deposits as liabilities. Number 3, grow with profit, not just volume. Number 4, choose the right leaders. And number 5, confront reality early. They're simple and powerful because structure beats willpower every single time. Now, let's close the loop. You remember where we started? The contractor who thought deposits meant profit only to watch everything collapse? You remember breakthrough contracting, busy for 11 years but bleeding money the whole time? That's the slow bleed. That's the quiet collapse. And here's the truth you've got to take home. Most businesses don't collapse in a single moment. They erode from ignored mistakes. You don't have to let that be your story. You don't need a miracle. You don't need rescuing, but you do need a method. 5 steps, clear, simple, repeatable. Here's my challenge to you. Pick one, just one. Don't try to fix everything this week. Just pick one step. Maybe it's reviewing your numbers. Maybe it's treating deposits the right way. Whatever it is, commit to it. Start reversing the bleed today. Because when you build structure, when you choose discipline over denial, when you face the numbers and lead with facts, your business doesn't just survive, it thrives. It grows.